G'day you mob, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. Today is another interview episode that I have the pleasure to bring to you. So today I am interviewing Nadia Mofrad, who was a mechanical engineer who moved to Australia from Iran in a very quick and serendipitous situation. You're gonna hear all about that story and how crazy it was. So she is studying at Macquarie University. She has a huge following on Instagram about life in Australia for Persian followers. And I thought after she interviewed me recently on her channel that I would love to have her on to talk about what it was like moving from Iran to Australia, getting used to life at university here, learning business English versus informal everyday English in Australia, and then also wrapping her head around the culture in Australia and what her plans are for the future. So it's an absolutely interesting, incredible interview with Nadia. Thank you so much for coming on. Without any further ado, guys, slap the bird and let's get into it. How are you going, Nadia?
Good, how are you?
I'm
Long
good.
time.
Yeah, welcome to the
Sure.
podcast. You had me on
Thank you.
your Instagram live recently, and that was an absolute pleasure. So now I'm returning the favor. So Nadia, do you want
Pleasure.
to
Oh
introduce
my.
yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Nadia. I'm Instagrammer right now. The main thing that I'm doing every day is being Instagrammer. But I graduated from Master of International Business from Macquarie University recently, I'm here in Australia for more than 2 years now, from July 2018. This is me.
So how did you get here and where did you come from?
I come from Iran. When I was studying my bachelor in mechanical engineering, I realized that I have a very good passion about international business and business. So I changed the whole story to the business life and I studied MBA and then applied for coming to Australia because I really wanted to immigrate and live abroad.
So you obviously got here just in time before COVID hit.
Oh yeah, I was lucky.
So how long had you ever sort of been thinking about coming to Australia from Iran? Was that ever on the books for a long time before that, or was it something that just sort of happened spontaneously and you were like, you know what, yeah, let's do it?
You know what? My father studied in Gold Coast, and he was always like inspiration for me. And he was pushing me like, "It's very nice continent. It's a very nice country. Go to Australia." But I was sure about studying abroad. I wasn't sure about it coming to Australia. So I had a lot of options going to Europe. I applied for Europe and US at the same time with Australia. But when I get all the applications, I just sit and decide. Like I prefer to live like in a very nice nature like Australia, and even though it's a little bit far from Iran compared to others. So here I am. I come here, and I'm really happy with my decision.
So was it a tough choice?
Oh, definitely. It is definitely a hard choice. But when it comes to the language as well, when Australia is like an English spoken country, which is much better for me than like, for example, French or Germany that I was applying.
Oh wow! So you were going to potentially have to learn French or German as well as English, which I assume you would have been learning English ever since you were young, in one way or another at schools, but not necessarily French or German, right?
Definitely. Like I studied French for 3 years, but it's not enough. It's not definitely not enough. Like you just know some basics after 3 years of studying French. It's very hard language. So compared to English, yeah, definitely English is much easier. And another advantage was the nice environment. This country is like heaven. I always say that. I really enjoy.
What did you know prior to coming to Australia about what it was like? Had you seen like, Crocodile Dundee, the movie, and all these other things, and had your idea?
I will see more of kangaroos and koalas. But yeah, I thought that kangaroos might be in the city as well.
Well, if you go to Canberra, you'll see them all over the place. I remember when we were there, you would just be driving around, and because there's so much
The huge
farmland
one.
close to the city, they're everywhere. Yeah.
I saw a huge kangaroo, like higher than my height.
Yeah. A
In
big
a
male.
national park in Canberra. It was like normal and an ordinary day in Canberra.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. I guess you forget how weird it is being someone who's obviously grown up in Australia and you see kangaroos all over the place all the time. I think places like Canberra, it was shocking how tame they were, that they weren't afraid of you. So you could just walk around and they're just like, yeah, whatever. Whereas
Yeah,
when I'd seen them in the past, they would run away. There was no way, or hop away. There was no chance they would get anywhere near you. But
yeah.
Canberra
They
was
can
a weird
also
place.
attack people sometimes.
You got to be careful. They got
I saw
claws.
videos on YouTube and like, oh,
I know, yeah, they're dangerous little things, especially if they get threatened. They can often, especially by dogs, they'll go to where there's water and they'll go in the water and wait for the dog to come towards it and then grab the dog and hold it underwater.
really? Oh
Yeah,
my god,
there's footage of it trying to do that on
so smart in
yeah,
a
there's
bad way,
footage on
actually.
YouTube of that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my god.
So
Uh,
was that a big feature of sort of wanting to come to Australia? Was it the animals and nature? Was that a big reason?
and beach,
And the beach?
yeah, and the weather also. For example, in Canada, I have a lot of relatives over there. If I went to if I decide to go to Canada, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't alone like now.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
when I came here, no relatives. I was the first person
So you're
coming to
striking
this
out on your
country.
own.
Yeah, but right now, thankfully, I have a lot of good friends, and like I create my own family with my friends around me.
So how did you do that? What was that like? I guess talk us through what it was like leaving Iran and then getting to Australia and setting up shop, starting your life. What were you feeling and what did you sort of have to do? What did you experience?
Oh, let me to tell you my story. Like I never thought that I would get my visa in 20 days.
What?
It's very quick, yeah. Especially when you're applying from Iran, it usually take longer. And I just go to a trip with my parents to Turkey. We were
Mm-hmm.
having so much fun. All of a sudden, I received my email. I never thought I could make it with that like quick notice to that semester. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
I will get my visa and I will go to Australia for the next semester. When I
Okay.
got it, yeah, it was 4 days before starting the classes.
Oh, what?
So yeah, just oh, I told my parents I was so shocked. I was so happy, and I was like in Turkey. I
Oh,
have
so
to
you had
go
to,
back to
you're in
Iran.
Turkey, you got to cut the holiday short, go home and then go to Australia.
Exactly, pack all your stuff and say goodbye to everyone. Well, everything happened very quickly. So I just realized I'm in Australia when I land in Australia. Like everything, it was in a very fast pace.
So how quick did that happen? You're on holiday in Turkey.
Yeah.
You get this text message. How quickly after you got the text message or the email did you end up in Melbourne or in
Yeah.
Australia? Yeah.
After that, I just quickly booked for the first ticket for my parents and everyone. Uh, I basically ruined their holiday, but it was a fortunate event.
For you.
Yeah.
So they had to
My
go
fa-
home, did they? And you
yeah.
cut it short.
My father couldn't believe it. He got fever like from nowhere. He was so shocked. He got fever.
Did he blame that on you?
No. So we get we book for the first flight and then
Mm-hmm.
go back to Iran. Yeah, I had to pack my stuff in one day, say goodbye to everyone. I booked my ticket from Turkey to Iran and from Iran to Sydney, Tehran to Sydney.
Yep.
Pack off all my stuff. I didn't even have accommodation. Like I had to book in a new country. It was so terrible. Like
So how did you manage that? You got off the plane. What did you do once you got here and you got off the plane and you
it
had
was,
nothing in terms of
yeah.
organized accommodation or anything?
I was lucky. I could get the accommodation from university dormitory.
Yeah.
Last second, someone canceled it, and I got in. Like I
Oh,
couldn't believe that. I
lucky.
should have go to the Airbnb if I didn't get that. And the second thing about airplane to university, university always provide first pickup for free from
Okay.
from airport. They come pick you up and take you to wherever the place is your accommodation,
What does the
which is very
second one
comforting.
cost? How much is the
Yeah.
second one?
Oh, don't even ask. The second one, you should find a good friend to pick you up.
Yeah, get an Uber.
Yeah. Or an Uber, yeah.
So far out, that must have been a quick change. Did you have to pinch yourself? Because
Yeah.
I can't imagine if someone told me tomorrow, even say my wife's from Brazil. So imagine they said tomorrow you're going to Brazil, you're going to be, hanging out with her
Very
family
hectic.
for years. Yeah. And then you suddenly get there. I'd be like, well, man, the other day I was in Ocean Grove in my
Yeah.
hometown, in my house. And now all of a sudden I'm in another country. What was the sort of emotional, roller coaster like? Was it a good, exciting time, or were you really nervous?
Honestly, because I had to jump into the classes. Like the day I arrived here, I was like, "Oops, I have to go buy some heater." It was like July, I
Oh,
think.
yeah, of course. It's
Yeah,
winter. Yeah.
yeah. I just run to the first shopping center. I didn't know where I am. Like, what's going on? Big W.
Yeah.
Let's go to this shop, see how it is. Like, I didn't know anything. Just about the first oil heater I find and go back and sleep. The day after, I go to university.
So did you get food, or you just skip that? You're like, I just need warmth.
That's a good question, actually. When I get to dormitory, they gave me Tim Tam, the guy who drive me from Tim Tams. He said, "This is Tim Tam. This is our favorite snack." And I think that's it. I forget to have dinner on that night.
They gave you Tim Tams as a welcoming gift. That's pretty Australian.
Yeah. And it was tasty, seriously. It was a good experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. I was like, good thing.
All right. So what was it like going straight into classes and everything? It sounds like you sort of hit the ground running, right? You were sort
It
of like
was
forced.
terrible.
It was horrible?
Horrible. Because I even changed my major. I was mechanical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed to international business, which is completely different word, and studying in English. I could and understand absolutely nothing first session. I was like this, what's going on? Like, I thought my English level is perfect. I couldn't talk like that, like what I'm talking now. Definitely improved in this time. But first day I was like, what's going on? What is that? And everybody raised their hand, answer, and I was like, oh, what's happening? Good thing the girl who's sitting next to me, I look at her, I was like, do you understand anything about what he's saying? She said, I was like, oh, thank God.
It's
Then
not
I
just
realized, yeah, university provides a good service, which is they record classes.
Oh.
So back home, I listen to classes over and over, like sometimes 3 times. I listened to a class.
Man, you would have been screwed when I was going through university because we didn't have any of the online. I think it was just at that point where they were doing all the online. We can stream lectures and everything like that. So imagine what it would have been like back then.
Oh, it's terrible.
So is that how you improved your English though? Was that a big thing of just having to rewatch lectures again and again and again?
I improved my business word like vocabularies with that. But interaction with people inside the dormitory, my housemates, when we were sitting, eating together, talk together, and going to clubs, and these things were most effective as experience for me, like exercise, practice. And another thing that was very horrible, first time that I was talking to an Australian girl, which was my housemate, she talks so fast, and I was like, I could understand her, but I couldn't reply in that pace.
No way.
No way. So I just lost all my self-esteem, and I told her, I think my English is not as good as yours. And she was like, no, I can understand you. It's perfect. It's like, oh, thank you.
I think though it would be the same in Persian though, right? If I was learning Persian, you would have that same sort of issue. And native Persian speakers, like with my Portuguese at the moment, I can sort of get by, but I think pretty quickly when I'm hanging out with other Brazilian Portuguese speakers, I realize how much I still have to learn and that I can't keep up. And they'll always be like, you're doing fine. And it's like, yeah, while we're talking about easy subjects, like what I did on the weekend, it's easy. But as soon as you start talking about politics or something, I'm like, I'm drowning. But you just mentioned something that's really interesting that I hadn't really, I don't think I've talked about much on the podcast. you said you had to sort of learn business English and business vocab, and then you also had this kind of informal everyday English that you learnt from your friends and the people that you surrounded yourself with. What were those two types of English learnt the same way by you, or did you have to kind of take two different approaches to level up each of those areas of your English?
From my understanding, they are completely two different words, because I used to learn before I started. Like, let's go back to the time when I was learning English in
Mm-hmm.
Iran. Most of my learning process was with watching movies and listening to music, which were very informal.
So
But when I had,
passive kind of
yeah,
stuff too. You weren't necessarily talking yourself.
not many complicated vocabularies, like very academic ones, no way. Not
Mm-hmm.
like when somebody is reporting news, which is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But when I had to do the IELTS academic for immigration, terrible. First hit. It was first shock for me. I started studying different kind of books, listening to news instead of Netflix, and
It gets hard, right? Because you've got all
completely
these
two
other
different words.
areas that you have
But
to
when I
improve.
came here again, yeah, totally different. When you write a report or essay for your assignment in university, you use a lot of words that you never use it in daily talk, but you have to know them as well.
So what are the main things that you were doing? You know, you have to kind of level these two things up simultaneously at the same time.
Yeah,
Did you have sort of an approach that worked well for both? Like, did you go out with friends as much as you could and you would practice that sort of stuff in a kind of informal situation, but then you would have to kind of hit the books to do all of the business vocab and you know all of the more complicated stuff, and you kind of have these two different ways, right, of studying the same language?
yeah, balancing was the key. Like, if I couldn't balance it, I definitely couldn't improve my English. And I tried to, like, put some time, even though my schedule was so tight with all the studies. I was overloaded with all the studies, but I tried to have some time with to sit with my friends from different kind of places all around the world. It's not just Australians, like, because when you're in university, everybody's like different kind of accents. Even your lecturers might be from everywhere in the world, so you have to know all the accents as well. So
Yeah.
what I did, I tried to sit with my mates and my peers, like mates and peers. We see
Mm-hmm.
these two kind of words like two different. Peers is more luxurious and academic.
That's it, like people
Yeah,
of your age in your group, right? Yeah.
yeah. But mates, like, buddies. Yeah, I try to, like, even when I wanted to have lunch or dinner, I go outside my room, sit in the living room. Hopefully that I see
Yes.
someone passing by, start a little bit of conversation with them. And if there was any parties advertising in Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
I did my best to just make it and go there and start talking.
Free
Yeah,
lessons. Yeah, free lessons.
yeah,
And
free
you get
lessons.
drinks.
Yeah, and you make friends as well.
That reminds me so much. When I was in Canberra, the listeners and viewers will know this story. Um, we were having trouble trying to find places to live because we ended up going to all these different houses and didn't really get along with the people. We were living in the old Pakistani embassy at one point, which was this huge mansion with 10 rooms, and this old lady was renting out
Wow.
each of the rooms to different people, and it was just a weird motley crew of unique people that were living there, and we were just like, this isn't for us. So we ended up moving in with some Brazilians, and I remember doing exactly what you were saying, where it was me living with 5 other Brazilians. And I said at that point, I was like, Kel, my wife, you know, I need to work on my Portuguese for when we get married and have children, and I can talk to your family and teach the kids Portuguese. And every morning I would get up and I would go downstairs before anyone else woke up, and I would sit at the table with my breakfast and just be like waiting and just be like, who's going to be up first? Who's going to be up first? And on their
I
way
know the
out,
feeling.
they had to talk
Yeah.
with me. Yeah. So I got to practice every single day, but it was only the informal kind of, you know, how you going? What are you up to? What's on for today? You know, small talk. It was really good for small talk and everything, but it definitely didn't help my academic Portuguese. So did you, obviously that was a really good way for you to improve informal small talk and everything like that. Did you find any really useful tips or pointers for people wanting to dive into the books and having to learn about, the more complicated aspects of English, whatever area it may be in?
Yeah, I think it's better not to dive in. Be prepared before that.
Yeah.
What I did was very risky, and I might not be able to make it.
Oh, you mean going to uni and just diving
Yeah,
in?
like
Oh,
all of
yeah.
a sudden change everything. They can start studying the books about their major before in English
Yep.
before they immigrate, and also listening to TED Talks can be very helpful, especially in their own major. For example, I could listen to financial like TED Talks about finance,
Yep.
trades, and stuff before I come to university and let's just learn the perpetuity for the first time in university, like words like that.
Yeah.
They can definitely get the very common words in their major by just practicing a little bit in advance. It's better to be prepared. Yeah.
Were there
That's
any were there any benefits to kind of just jumping in and being shocked? Having to learn to swim?
actually, I grew up. I learned a lot. I feel like Nadia before that immigration and Nadia after first semester is two different people. I put a lot of effort. The time I was like persistence until I get the point. And also because I'm paying a lot for university at the same time, I was like, oh, I have to make the money worth, and I don't failing is not an option, Nadia, you should make it. So I put more force on myself, like you can do it. And that's how I haven't been in citizen center much in this 2 years. So because I'm just studying, trying to improve myself, and there is a lot of priorities than like just going out, hang around. You just have to sacrifice the fun time, and yeah, that's how I make it. But I can tell you that it was the most difficult time of my whole life. A lot of challenges all the time.
Was it having to become much more independent too, because you don't have this sort of safety net of family and friends and, houses that you can go to and stay with people if you need and any of that sort of stuff? You're on your own. It's kind of like you're a flight away from the nearest family member or friend.
Yeah. In Iran, we usually don't move out unless we marry. So it's not very common that people who are single move out, and it's not very positive in the society. Also, it's not possible with the financial situations right now if someone can and someone want to.
It's just really expensive.
It is very expensive. It is impossible kind of expensive. Yeah. So like I was living with my parents until when I was 25, and then all of a sudden immigrate. I remember first spaghetti I was trying to make, it was horrible. Like first
out of a can? Out of a can, or you're actually making it at least?
I was trying to actually make it. I didn't have the pot. I go buy the pot and spaghetti.
Yeah.
I came home. I remember, oh, I don't have mince. I go back, buy the mince and tomato
Still missing one ingredient.
Yeah. I come back home. Can you believe 3 times I go to the mall, shopping mall, for one simple spaghetti. And I come like, oh my God, I forget onion.
Yeah.
Something so simple. But nowadays I'm just making everything in a blink of an eye, and it's so quickly. But in the first days, I realized how spoiled I was and how hard it is to just be independent as fast as possible.
So what would it be like if you went home now? Do you feel like your family would see a completely different person? And would you find it hard living with family or even with other people again after having your own place, your own room?
Yeah, I think I cannot leave my family again. Like, yes, maybe for a short period of time. When I went back to Iran before Corona, it was good just to see them, and I was just resting and relaxing. Someone else was cooking and doing all the other stuff. I was just a guest over there. It's fun, but just for the short period of time. I feel like when you experience being independent, it's so hard to go back to where you were before.
Far out. So we should also mention that you own a galah, right?
Oh yeah, it's his sound. Do you want me to bring him?
Yeah. Go for it. Go
Yeah,
for it.
sure.
Grab
Just hang on a second. I'll
it.
bring
Go
him.
for it. So I'll fill you guys in. I've been stalking Nadia's Instagram, and she has a lot of photos with a galah, a pink, white, and grey native Australian parrot. And I see,
Hello.
yeah, look at that. Far out. So it's a her?
It's a no he.
Ah, it's him. Okay. And
Yeah,
what's
it's
his
a he.
name?
His name is Silver, and he's just a baby, kind of like 1 year
Wow.
and a half.
So how I think
He
you're the
talks
first
now. He
person
says
that I've interviewed
hello.
who owns a galah. So how did this come about?
Oh, my boyfriend bought it for me as a gift.
Wow.
I was like, oh, I want a puppy. why a galah?
A weird looking dog.
Yeah, it took me 2 weeks to accept the fact that my pet is a bird.
Mm-hmm.
But now I love him so much. He's so smart and very friendly. Like he comes to me every morning.
So he's very affectionate, right? I think I've heard that with parrots.
It's a part of a family now.
Man, you're screwed though. You realize they live till they're about 60 to 70 years old, right?
Oh yeah, I know. Actually, he'll live longer than me.
Yeah, that's the thing. I keep thinking about that. I'm like, it'd be cool to own a cockatoo or a galah or something, but I'm like, if you get a baby now, it's going to outlive you, and it'll be, handed down into your son or grandchildren's generations.
That's true.
So what's it like owning one? Does he make a lot of noise? Is it weird owning
it's not like
such
cockatoos. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like cockatoos. Cockatoos are so loud. He's good unless I, for example, go to balcony and don't take him with me.
Yeah.
He starts shouting. And if in the morning, if I put him inside the cage, because he usually is outside, he's just standing on top of his cage and walks around like it's his own territory and he owns the place. So if I put him inside the cage and I go to my room and sleep, because he usually comes to me at 6 a.m.
Jesus.
If I want to sleep more, like
so that's your alarm.
Yeah, he starts shouting. He had to come and sleep in my hut. As you see, he's listening and looking at me. Oh yeah,
They're
he's
so
a very
beautiful.
good blogger. Also, he knows.
He's a what?
He's a good blogger, better than me.
Blogger.
When I start recording, he look at the camera like, as you can see.
Yeah. He looks curious.
Yeah.
Far out. That's absolutely crazy.
I'll probably start making a page for him.
Yeah. Oh man, you'll be famous in no time. He'll get more followers than you.
Now he says hello.
Oh really? Can you get him to do it? Or is he going to be put on the spot?
Hello.
But you have to give him a seed or a nut or something, do you? And he's like, "There's nothing in it. It's empty."
It's empty. He just bite it.
Ah.
Yeah. He eat the inside before.
So how does he not fly away? Do you have to clip his wings or something, or he just decides, nah, this is my home?
Actually, I was so against clipping his wings.
Yeah.
But my boyfriend has a lot of experience with birds. So he told me, if you don't want to lose him and you want to teach him to be tame, you have to accept the fact you have to do this. So I accepted, and we did it once. He forgets that how to fly. Even now that his wings are back, he just walks.
Oh, really? So he can fly now, but because you clipped him when he was younger, he's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I can't do it.
You know the conditioning situation that like they do even this with elephants when they're baby. We have this story, which is a very famous one in business also for conditioning. They put a wrap around the leg of a baby elephant, and he cannot move it. Even when he grows and he's much bigger than that stick, he still don't try because he thinks that, okay, I cannot run.
That's right. I think I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Far out. So, yeah, the galahs kind of distracted me. I had How has it been living in Australia and having to get used to being away from family and friends originally? Has it been a very difficult thing for you emotionally, or is it something that because of social media, it's not the worst thing in the world because you can just Zoom like we are right now all the time?
Yeah. I basically talk to my family every night.
Yeah.
Because I really want to be connected and be in touch like the way I was before. But I won't lie, there was moments and days that I feel so low, I'd be so homesick, uh, especially the first year, because you're not settled yet.
Yeah.
And whatever challenges that happen and come to your way, you feel like, oh, if my parents were here, oh, if I were home, it was different. Especially when you get sick and you're alone. It's
Oh
so
man.
terrible. It's such a
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah. My brother always bring me hot beverages, and I was like, oh, Ali, my brother, where is he now? Sometimes it's so hard. But I can tell you that after 2 times going back to Iran, I just traveled during this time that I've been here. I traveled twice in Iran. And the second time I went, it was like a closure for me. After that, I'm much more settled here now when I came back, and I get my own house. Like I'm living in 1-bedroom apartment now, not in dormitory. So I feel like more being home. I feel like making my own home here, and I talk to my parents regularly, but I feel less homesick now, especially with Corona. I think because it's not an option to go back. So you feel like, oh, that's it. Just
the
get
bridge
used
has
to it.
been bridge has been burnt, it's been destroyed, there's no way to get back.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have advice for people in a similar situation to you if they do come to that same kind of conclusion that I want to make Australia home, I want to set up my life here? Are there certain things that you did to make that process happen faster or more easily?
Yeah, I always say that we have a version of ourselves. Everybody has this version of their personality that if you let it be, it starts nagging, saying bad things, go to the downfall, and like, oh, poor me, I'm so miserable, I'm so far from my family, oh, my family, if you were here. If you let this conversation to happen in your head, it will take you to nowhere. Like, the result won't be very pleasant. And
Yeah.
the only thing is that it keeps you from your life and progressing. So it's better to, whenever that things strike, that version of you is trying to get to the surface, try to make yourself busy with all the stuff that you have in your life. This is my trick. Like, I make myself so busy that I don't have enough free time to think about, oh, miss my family. And also another thing is just pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah,
that's easy. Like, social media make it so much easier. And after a while that you're living in here, you start to make your own circle, have your own friends, which really helps. Sometimes that I miss my family, I invite my Iranian friends to my house. We sit together, we drink Persian tea, we watch a Persian movie. Like, I kind of create the situation like Iran, a small
you get a little
Iran
taste
in my
of
house.
home, right?
Yeah, exactly, little taste of home.
So what's the process been like making friends in Australia? Have you found it easy or difficult to make Australian friends? That tends to be a question I get a lot. How do I meet other Australians? I find it hard. I make friends with all these other foreigners in Australia, but I find it hard to meet other Australians.
It's a little bit difficult if people don't come with the education way. Like, if they just jump into the working visa, and university makes it much more easier because you have a lot of opportunities to just start a small talk. Especially in the orientation week of the university, they take you to different places with different people, so you just have to turn around and don't be shy, because I think the key is just to start talking to people. People are much more nicer than what you might think, and everybody is looking for make a good friends, new friends, the way you are. So just to start small conversations, and you can make a lot of friends. For me, the most challenging thing was that I couldn't start a conversation. I was trying to push myself, but sometimes I was just looking around. I was so shy. Maybe they don't want to accept me if I just say something, and my accent might be weird, and my English might not be good enough. And I'll be like, oh, this girl, where is she came from? Like, this strange thoughts that you have that keeps you away. You should just fight with it, because everybody is coming from different places, and as far as you can make yourself understood, you can make good friends, and you can improve your level of English and knowledge of life together much more easier than being alone. I think living in dormitory really helps, and just going with the flow of university, joining to all the group activities that university has can really help.
So really embrace those activities. Just go out of your way to try and do as many social events and go places and experience everything, right? Don't just get caught up in studying or being afraid of going out and about. But were there certain things that you did that helped you build confidence so that you didn't feel as nervous or anxious when speaking with other Australians or other people? Were there certain ways of getting over that?
Oh, just make mistakes.
Do more of it.
Yeah, do more of mistakes, and just even now I'm talking to you, I'm making tons of mistakes, I'm sure about it, but I'm learning from you.
Well, the point is to be being able to communicate, right? You're not a native speaker of English, so it's stupid for anyone to expect you to not make mistakes, right? And at the same time, your point isn't to be perfect. You're not here trying to pretend to be an Australian or pretend to be a native speaker. It's all about communication and being able to, communicate, share stories, and have conversations. And that was part of the thing. I remember going to France. I went to France when I was 16. It's the only European country I've been to. And I remember we were out walking around, and I'd studied French for, I think it would have been 4 or 5 years at that point, but really could only communicate in basic sentences. Where's the toilet? Where are you from? What's your name? And I remember we were at one hostel or hotel somewhere, and we spent 6 hours talking to this old man who had no teeth and was just laughing his head off. And we were trying to communicate with one another. And that was sort of one of those points where I realized, like, we were able to chat and make jokes. I mean, that it was relatively basic, but through his sort of broken English and then French, and through our broken French but then English, we were having this amazing conversation for 3 or 4 hours whilst he was playing the piano. And I remember that was that sort of moment where you realize, in terms of confidence and building it and speaking with people, the errors, you have to kind of just look at them a different way and not try and put too much pressure on yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also another thing when you were talking, I remember, is that being flexible is very important. Like, you don't have to just stick with all the beliefs and all the cultures that you're bringing from your country. It's very good to have your own roots and believe in all those virtues, but at the same time, you're in another country, you're not in your country anymore, so it's better to learn from them, the way they look to the life, their culture, how they celebrate things. Some people are very restrict to whatever they believe, and especially now for a person who's coming from Islamic country, it's all the people from Middle East and those kind of beliefs that we have in society, our countries are very different. So if you want to just not going with the flow, it's going to be very much difficult. You cannot make a lot of friends. It's better to I learned the way the Australian drink. I learned the way they they party. They take everything easy, celebrating like high tea and like bringing your food to the party, bring your own culture, which is very nice. We never have these things in Iran. For example, we have a very a strong thing in our culture named tarof. There's no word for it in English. They have it, we name it tarof. It's the way of respecting each other. For example, when you respect your guests, when you give them some food, like try to like help yourself with this, and they say no thanks. You insist, and they say no thanks, because they might be shy, and you insist like please.
Oh my God, I've got a story for you here. I don't know if this was it tarof? Is that what you said it was called?
Yeah,
tarof.
exactly.
Kel was my wife from Brazil was telling me this. So we had this big, not a fight, but this kind of like argument over whether or not it's rude to accept I was about to say money, not money, food or drink that people offer you when you're at their house. And she was from northeast Brazil, and apparently they, at least there, I don't know, could be all Brazil, maybe it's nowhere, but according to her, she was saying it's very rude to accept food or drink from people. So the first thing you should say is, no, I'm okay, thank you.
And then when they insist, they
No, well, normally she would still be like, no, it's okay. I really like so from her point of view, it was, I feel bad if you have to go out of your way in any way, shape, or form when I'm a guest in your house. And I was like, it's the complete opposite. If I go to someone's house and they offer me something, if I don't want to eat that thing, I eat that thing. If I don't want to drink that thing, I drink that thing. Because that's the inverse belief there, that if they're going to go out of
you're
their way to do
appreciating.
that, you need to be, I mean, obviously within reason. If you're allergic to something or you really don't want it, you can say, no, thank you. But usually if someone offers you something, and they'll often give you a choice of things, you'll say yes. And so it was always funny. Kel and I would go to people's houses, my family and my friends, and they would say, would you guys like tea or coffee? And I'll be like, yeah, coffee. And Kel's like, no, no, don't worry. No, please, no, 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 no.
Just culture, see how much different is the culture. And like, imagine if this is like normal, it's okay. Like if you say no, nobody will be like, oh, she's rude. Or if you say yes, they won't be like, oh, he's rude. But there are places that in culture that they're completely different.
Yeah.
So like, people know that you come from different culture, but you have to like.
I'm going to go to Brazil now, and every time I enter a space, people are going to offer things, thinking I'm going to say no, thank you, and I'll be like, hell yeah, give me the food, give me the coffee, and they'll be like, damn
it. Exactly.
I was just being polite. I didn't actually want to get you anything.
That's so interesting.
Did you have any other sort of stories in terms of getting used to Australian culture? Was it a big culture shock for you coming from a Muslim country like Iran?
Yeah, the biggest culture shock for me was that people were walking barefoot on the street. Actual barefoot. Like, I never see this in Iran. Like, even when someone walks with the slippers on the street, you're like, oh, that person must be very poor.
I think we get to that point where people just don't care. It can be a sign of poverty. Obviously, if you're homeless or something, there may be people with no shoes. But especially, it'd be an interesting thing to go into rural parts of Australia in the interior and see if people still do it there. But it's something that's very common around beachy areas, the beach. I don't know why that is. I guess maybe they go barefoot from the beach to the shops, back to the beach. Mm-hmm. But especially in Ocean Grove where I live, which, the beach is about 500 meters away, even I've done it once or twice where I've gone to the shops with bare feet. So
even I saw this in Harbour Bridge. I won't say it's good or bad, but it's interesting the way that they look. I talked to one of my Australian friends. She said that they want to feel the connection between the earth as well.
Really? Okay.
That's kind of a spiritual. Some people do it as like a spiritual reasons as well. And for me, it's like, oh, it's dirty. You may get sick. Like, don't do that. And like, I'm telling you the different point of views. But nowadays, when I see someone is walking barefoot, I'm like, oh, normal.
Yeah.
Nothing shocking. First day, I was like, Australia, advanced country.
It's all relative, right? I was reading a book once about a Muslim woman who went to Europe, and I remember her talking about taking her hijab off for the first time and being terrified of something happening, whether she was going to get struck down by God or whether people would abuse her in the street. And she was like, nothing happened. And then it just became the norm within a few weeks. And it was like after she'd grown up I think she was from Somalia, and she'd had this, decades and decades of having a certain thing a certain way. And it's so crazy how that can change all of a sudden and you just get used to it. It just becomes the norm. And, it's incredible that people can adjust so quickly to these things. Were there other things like the food? Did that take a while to get used to?
No, actually, to be honest, when my mom came here to visit, she was like, I think this is a country that was customized for your taste.
Why is that?
I really like salty foods, and the main ingredient here is like
chicken salt.
Yeah, chicken salt. I love it. I'm like, oh, thank you.
By the way, guys, when we say chicken salt, it's the like yellowy green salt that's added to hot chips and fish and chips, but it's never. I don't think it is actually chicken, right? It's just fake chicken flavor.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it doesn't even have a chicken flavor, does it? No.
Not to me, no. I don't think if
Saltier than salt.
yeah, it's good. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, what are the plans for the future? You know, finishing up the chat here. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? Do you think you're going to continue along the road of becoming a fair income, true blue Aussie?
Oh yeah, I think so. I'm sure my accent will be with me forever, but it's gonna be much better.
But it becomes, sorry to interrupt you, it becomes part of the
Yeah,
story, right? And that's the thing. It's kind of like a tattoo, you know, where it
yeah,
is with you
your
forever, but it's,
signature.
yeah, exactly. And I get, like, I have friends there seem to be two kinds of migrants: those who hate being asked where they're from, and those who love being asked where they're from, you know, because then it gets the story going, or they
Yeah,
hate it because they're like, oh, I'm still not seen as an insider.
I know, right? Yeah, but I don't mind actually. I really like the story, but after that, when you start chatting about it, um, I don't like it when people say, "Where is Iran?"
But
I don't
is
like
that
that.
from an ignorant way, or is that like
Yeah,
a
yeah, but other people, yeah, I love it. About future, I see
yeah.
myself getting my residency first here, like in the first not so far future, and then start my own company and having business, being a businesswoman in Australia.
And so, is there much you need to do, sort of in between now and then, to get residency and everything? Is it a
Oh
long,
yeah, there is
arduous
a
path?
long road. There's a
Yeah.
long road ahead of me. Especially, I have to. The hardest thing now is to get my English test results. I have to have something equivalent to IELTS 8 or above, or PTE 79 or above, which is the hardest thing in the world. I think it's so difficult. It's so
So,
difficult.
what's the plan of attack for that? It's just study, study, study.
Study, study, study. Yeah, I work a study. I work a study. Work a study. Work a study now until like I booked my exam for 15th of February. Hopefully, I can get it in first run.
Good
Yeah,
luck.
exactly.
I think
Thank you.
my Colombian student, one of my first students when I was giving English lessons back in the day, I asked him what's the trick, you know, and he said I failed 5 times and then I drank 2 glasses of red wine before the speaking test and I crushed
Oh,
it.
actually, I think that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
that
really
was the
helps.
problem. Apparently, he kept failing the speaking test because he was too nervous and he was too shy. And then he just had some wine, and then was like, I went in there and just didn't care. I was like, it's on.
Once I find myself talking in British accent when I was drunk
Yeah,
out of nowhere. Yeah.
too funny. Far out. Well, I hope it goes well.
Oh yeah. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Where can people find out more about you and what you do, Nadia?
About like for example my Instagram things or
100%. Yeah. Where can they find you on the social medias?
my social media handle is Nadia BM _official. I try to give report about living in Australia. Whenever I go to nice places, and I always recommend it to other people. And the process of immigration, I try to make it easier for others, easier than what it was for me, by sharing my experience with them.
Hopefully, a little bit more time than 4 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was very fast. I think sometimes I feel like there was an advantage for it because I didn't have enough time to be so shocked.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine being in that situation. It's incredibly
Yeah,
impressive and brave. So, well, I hope it keeps going well. You're going to have to keep us up to date with things, and hopefully, we can have you on the podcast again in the future. Thank you so
sure. It
much,
was my
Nadia.
pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope you have a good, lovely night and time.
Cheers.
Cheers.